After an exhilarating first 2 rounds of Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship racing, Canada's best riders have made their way west to RAD Torque Raceway in Edmonton, Alberta. The City of Champions plays host to a loaded GP Bikes Pro Superbike feature class full of challengers who hope to take the crown away from reigning back-to-back Canada Cup champion Ben Young, who hopes to use Alberta's twists and turns to cement his championship lead. Feet on the pegs, visor down, it's time to go racing in Alberta. Marshall Ferguson alongside Colin Fraser as we are here at RAD Torque Raceway in Edmonton, Alberta. It is great to be out west. It's been a long time, Colin, 8 years since we have been here with the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship. We're going into this race. There's a lot of variables for a place that not a lot of people know very well.
Well, it's been a long time. That what's considered to be the first ever Superbike race was here in 1980, so they have a terrific tradition here of competition. I think the issue here is how fast are the locals versus what is the true pace, because of course until you bring the national riders, you don't completely know what's possible. Indicators are we're going to be a little bit faster than has ever been lapped here at RAD Torque.
The valiant return of one Alex Dumas, the 2021 Canada Cup champion, this time on a Ducati and in a fierce battle for the BS Battery pole position award, Colin.
And there you can see Collins ducking in behind our pole sitter Young, and what an effort by Young. 3 straight awards here from BS Batteries, and that is a remarkable chain of events. And there you can see 2 young guns who are thinking about how to dethrone Ben Young.
Ben Young with a 1:17.37 for not just the BS Battery pole position award, but the outright track record as well, Colin.
And there was some speculation after a very fast pace on Friday morning that they'd go even better than that. So very hot at the front. And of course, 2 of the threats for the win weren't with the series at our last round.
Yep, absolutely. Lots of fast locals here as well. Great to see Paul McDonald in the field. John Booley as well, as we see Bronte Verbeek alongside Philip de Gama Blanchette and Ernest Bernhard and RAD Torque Raceway. This place is unique.
Got to shout out the locals. Several of these superbikes are really good looking. You look at this track, the part we just saw the red line illuminate, kind of one line because of the bus stop being very, very tight. Then you get into the far west end. That's where all those numbers are out there. And that is the fast flowing part of the track. That's the fun part. That's the pretty part. That's the part we can't see from the paddock.
As we have a red flag here on the first attempt to start this race, Ernest Bernhard came together with Bronte Verbeek, and so the leaders will pull into the pit here and get things set to go once again. Let's go down to our Bridgestone pit reporter, Sarah Seb, with the competition on the front row.
Thanks, guys. 2 Superbike riders made a statement pushing their way to the front row in qualifying yesterday in round 3 of the Bridgestone CSBK Championship. Alex Dumas has returned to the track competing with a new team and on a new bike and finishing 3rd in qualifying for Economy Loop Ducati, while wildcard Torin Collins nudged his way to 2nd position in his CSBK debut. As for Dumas, the 2021 champion finished 2nd to Ben Young in each of the last 2 championships and will reignite their rivalry here in Edmonton after missing the first 2 rounds. Back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Great to be here at RAD Torque Raceway in Alberta as we've knocked 4 laps off from 20 down to 16 after the red flag as we look to the Apex Cycle starting lights powered by Honda. We're full throttle in Edmonton as Ben Young clears away. Great start from Jordan Zoke, but it's Dumas into 2nd chasing down Young.
Zoke around the outside of Sam Garant for 3rd. It's nice to see Jordan fired up and looking very strong at a track where he was dominant 9 years ago last time we raced here.
Great shot here on the opening lap of race number 1 in the GP Bikes Pro Superbike feature class as they round their way, head back towards the finish line here. Is the start and the finish line different at this track, just like round 2 in Grand Bend, but it is Young creating a little bit of room up front, chased down by Dumas, Zoke in 3rd, and Torin Collins right there in 4th.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm having an identity crisis, but where's Collins is going to be the questions we're going to be asking here, because he has attracted so much attention in his debut in the series. He's been racing in Europe. He's racing full-time in the States. This is his first time at CSBK in any class, and like Dumas, he's making his debut in Superbike, and he's making it near the front.
Sam Garant, who won a race in Grand Bend, sits there in 5th as a wheelie coming out of that little chicane and into a really unique corner here at RAD Torque.
So this carousel is one of the defining turns. We've got another flat carousel, turn 4 here, hard braking area, very easy to tuck the front end through there. You can see Dumas right on top of Ben Young, and this is what we were hoping for when we saw Dumas testing at Shannonville a week ago, that he could find the pace on that V4 Ducati provided by Econo Lube. He's back in the series. Look at Collins, a little wide there chasing Zoke, so Kawasaki's in 3rd and 4th. Jordan right on top of Dumas.
As the ZX-10R, the silver, sitting in 4th there of Torin Collins. And if you're wondering about the riding style and the unique approach of Torin Collins, well, he's got a distinctly different background in his development, doesn't he, Colin?
Well, he's ridden just about everything, and he tells me one of his favorite things to do is supermoto, so his riding style is probably more that than anything, but definitely a European-type style. Very, very aggressive on the turn entries and takes up a lot of space, and some of the other riders don't like it. Some of the observers, the turn workers and stuff, are a little confused about what he's doing or if he's experiencing a problem. There you can see that leg out as he brakes hard into turn 1, and he's looking for a way past Zoke, and they have not faded too far back of Ben Young. And of course, normally we expect Ben to pull away very aggressively here, but his good buddy Mr. Dumas, who's been so much part of the story with Ben the last 3 years, as we go on board with Collins, going all out in the carousel.
The Navalda Kawasaki of number 71, Torin Collins. Great to have him here in the Bridgestone CSBK round 3 in Edmonton, as he tries to track down Jordan Zoke up ahead, but Ben Young continues to lead from Dumas as he smoothly makes his way into the back half of this track.
This S-bend joins up with the western end of the track. This is a much more open flowing section, faster, more fun, and we're heading into Jody Christie's corner.
Van Dolder's home team BMW of Ben Young leads as we continue at RAD Torque. Portions of the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship are brought to you in part by Joe Rocket, BS Battery, and Gulf Race Fuels. Closed captioning of the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship is brought to you in part by AIM Insurance, MotorcycleCourse.com, EBC Brakes and Clutches, and Revs for Rhett. Welcome back to RAD Torque Raceway here in Edmonton, Alberta. The Bridgestone CSBK round number 3 as Torin Collins continuing to try and track down Jordan Zoke and Alex Dumas. Ben Young a bit of a lead out in front thanks in large part to a real quick lap. Number 2, he ran a 1:17.651, his fastest yet, Colin.
And you watch through the bus stop here. This is sort of the signature of Ben Young's lap because he wheelies out of the last section. That transition is one of the most difficult. They've had a lot of trouble with the pavement coming apart there. We're on board here with Zoke as he's chasing second place Dumas. Dumas a little bit wide there, and here we go onto the start line, and we're heading for the west end where the track opens up and gets faster, and Collins desperately trying to make a move on Jordan.
Let's hear more from Alex Dumas and his return to the Bridgestone CSBK paddock.
So it all came up three weeks ago. Steve, that owns the team, the Ducati team, he texted me, asking me if I wanted to race for him at the Grand Bend. But I was already planning on doing the Loudon Classic with my J6R 600, so I couldn't do Grand Bend. I would have loved to, but I just couldn't. I was already doing it. So, but then I said yes for here, and then for the rest of the season, the plan is to continue with that.
Great to have Alex Dumas back in all things CSBK as we see them enter into turn 1 to begin lap number 5 as Dumas sitting in second as Zoke now a shot down the inside. Torin Collins moves into 3rd position ahead of Zoke, and he hold it as right on the throttle goes Zoke to try and catch up.
Yeah, I think the door was incrementally open there, and Collins pounced, and he needs to get moving because Dumas is starting to bridge that gap. Now we go on board with Collins into turn 2, and it's a lunge up the inside. There's just enough room. I doubt that Jordan appreciated that, but I think it's fair game. Here you can see Jordan maybe watching Alex just a little too much, and Collins tight on the line, ready for that move if the opportunity presented itself. In that section, turn 2 up to the bus stop, Torin is really aggressive, and it really shows, and the crowd in that little grandstand really enjoys it.
And the savvy veteran Zoke, to his credit, recognizing that Collins was making his way down into turn number 2, stood it up, saved both of them, and now will try to set his sights on Collins to catch back up. But it's Collins all over the back of Dumas. The Ducati's under pressure.
Yeah, and remember that Kawasaki is a little bit older, the bike that Collins is on. It is not a very fast motorcycle. You can see him getting motored there. The Ducati puts the power down really well. So full marks to Collins for riding it hard enough to stay in leading contention. And we got to mention that Zoe hasn't previously been in front of Guerin, so this is a sign that Jordan is making some progress. Remember, he's coming back to health after missing a whole season 2 years ago.
You can see the back end of that ZX-10R Kawasaki of Torin Collins wiggling and weaving around as he dips the toes down. We've talked to a lot of riders, Colin. They say this is a pretty punishing place to ride. It's got to be that much more tiring when you ride like Torin Collins does.
Yeah, it's a supermoto style. It is totally exhausting. And of course, normally a supermoto bike would have 60 horsepower, and this bike isn't a very powerful superbike, but it probably has 165. The bike in front of him probably has about 195.
Continuing to try and track down Dumas, who's doing a good job of laying down consistent lap times and forcing the issue with Collins. If he wants to get past the 2021 Canada Cup champion, he's going to have to do it very aggressively and likely very late on the brakes as you see Collins check over his shoulder.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. He's very busy on the bike, and you can tell he has raced in Europe on smaller machines because everybody tucks in on the straights, but the guys with that kind of background tuck in just that little bit more, and boy, does he get small behind the fairing of that older Kawasaki.
As Collins is pushing the tempo here with Alex Dumas, Ben Young continues to lead up front, but they are starting to pull away a little bit from Jordan Zoke, sitting down in 4th, and Sam Gran in 5th, even further back.
First person to break the lap record here was actually Dumas in his first appearance at this track. He had some problems with the rear brake in qualifying due to some work they were doing to try and give him a little more ground clearance with the foot pegs. If you've ever looked at a Ducati, it's absolutely remarkable that you'd ever need more ground clearance on a motorcycle. And there, that's another shot of Collins trying to go under Dumas on the way to the bus stop. I'm not sure how the math could ever play out there. That would be a very unpopular move, as you can see him sliding his way behind Dumas, trying so hard to get second place.
That bus stop, I think, is a case of racers are going to race, right? Try and slow everybody down, but there's no slowing down these guys. They'll find a fast way through there.
Yeah, and you got to wonder about boots. I don't know what kind of boots Collins wears, but that style just burns through the soles of your boots. We've seen guys with a lot of socks showing at the end of these races, and I bet you he doesn't have much sole left on those boots.
As Dumas gets his front wheel up a little bit here on the back half of this lap, and interesting, the electronics on the Ducati that he's been kind of battling with to try and understand and get grips on.
Yeah, there's a lot to do with the Ducati. There's a lot of opportunity. They had a technician in from the United States team on Thursday at the open test, but he's not here anymore, and that's made it a little bit harder.
It is Ben Young continuing to lead from Alex Dumas and the extremely talented Torin Collins, forcing the issue with some of the established champions of the Bridgestone CSBK. Welcome back to RAD Torque Raceway here in Edmonton, Alberta, as it is lap number 10, and Ben Young continues to lead nearly identical lap times, 118.5 for all of our top 3, Young, Torin Collins, and Alex Dumas, as Torin continues to push the pace. Let's hear from his dad with our Bridgestone pit reporter, Sarah Said.
All right, so Torin is an Alberta native, but he's never raced professionally for a championship here in Canada. What's it been like behind the scenes for you guys to prepare on your home soil?
It's awesome. It was getting the bike ready was a bit of a scramble. We only had about a week to get it ready. The bike that he was meant to be riding didn't materialize. So yeah, he's out there. He's having fun. He's doing well. He's outpowered, but he's showing his skills.
How are you feeling just about like the whole round this weekend?
I think it's great that Torin gets to ride in Alberta in front of his home fans, just to show the people, because he's been racing overseas for so long, just to come back to where he started racing as in clubs. This is awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So from Alberta mini bike to battling for the lead of a superbike race, that's an impressive effort. Collins has missed the transition. He performed it, but not anywhere where we've been able to watch.
Continuing to battle here with Alex Dumas. Zoke is actually riding really, really strong once again, showing his return to form as he's closed down this gap a little bit while watching the battle between Dumas and Collins up ahead.
I feel like Dumas is running at the pace he's comfortable. He doesn't quite have the setup to let him go after Young. You know that in time he will get there. He's going to ride this bike all year. But the difference is Collins is just crazy hungry. Look at that. Wow, that is an amazing move on the brakes.
As it is down the inside here, Torin Collins makes the pass work somehow on Alex Dumas. And Collins on the last lap had the fastest lap of anybody on track, and showing that he's got the pace not just to catch up, but to make the overtake as well.
If Zoke was wondering about the pass that Collins made, I guarantee you Dumas is wondering a lot more. Here we're on board looking at Collins as he decides to make this last-minute move, and Dumas does not think there's room there. They touch. It's not aggressive. Dumas is an experienced guy. He holds his line, and right behind Zoke's going, yeah, I know that move.
Saw it just a few minutes ago, as again we get another look at Collins. That left foot goes down, working every part of his body to try and get pace out of that Kawasaki, passes the Ducati, and is up into second spot.
And pro riders, they know you got to hold that line. You can't get distracted. You need to keep leading with your eyes, keep your head up, get your head turned. But look at Collins go now. He's got clear track ahead of him. Does he have enough bike to go after Ben Young? We don't think so, but he is clearly thinking it's possible.
Maybe if we had the full length of this race, but the red flag off the top cut off 4 laps, so 16 is the total through 12 of them right now as they make their way towards the finish straight to begin lap number 13.
Great to watch. He's just so aggressive on the motorcycle and so confident the way he handles it. And it's funny, you know, I mentioned his background in riding mini bikes at go-kart tracks, and he handles this like a mini bike at a go-kart track. He is so on top of this motorcycle. And normally in the States, he's riding in middleweight, so a bike with 165, 170 horsepower is not something he's done much of.
Just ran a 117.908 at Alex Dumas, so Dumas is trying to close up the gaps. We see the split here between Young and Collins.
Well, it's always the carrot situation, right? Collins was desperately trying to get by Dumas, but now we have the different situation where Dumas and Zoke's right there with Dumas, are trying to stay with Collins. They know what he's doing. He's going after the leader. Will he make it? I don't know. That was a great shot, by the way. You could really see him sideways on the brakes, front end counter steering and dragging his foot.
Such a unique style here in the Bridgestone CSBK as he makes his way on that Navalda Kawasaki towards Ben Young, trying to close up that gap. But I got a feeling that Young might have his eyes on the pit board and go, okay, it's time to start pushing this thing once again.
Oh no, Young has got the word. He needs to go. And it's interesting when we go on board with that back shot of Collins, because you can see he uses every inch of the track. Total commitment, lots of lean, lots of fun to watch.
Closing stages at RAD Torque, race 1 when we return. Portions of the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship are brought to you in part by Joe Rocket, BS Battery, and Gulf Race Fuels. Welcome back to RAD Torque Raceway. Out in front, the #1 plate of Ben Young continues to lead. Torin Collins doing everything he can to push the pace as he heads into the carousel here. He's sitting in second spot, and there's Dumas and Zoke, 3rd and 4 in your running order, lap 14 of 16.
Collins on a former track day motorcycle, an older Kawasaki Ninja, a bike that has been practiced for riding a Suzuki GSXR 750 in the States, normally restricted to the Suzuki's performance level. They've opened it up, but again, not really on par with the bikes that are typically at the front of this series, and the bike right in front of him has been the benchmark motorcycle in terms of performance so far this season, Ben Young's M Series BM.
Sam Duran sitting in 5th. How about Paul McDonald, one of the locals, sitting there in 6th position?
Yeah, McDonald in a good battle with Wursdal, and the two of them are fast locals, but of course McDonald the last 2 years has been committed. Oh!
As over the top goes the bike here, the number 22. That is Tosh Gable on the Motorhead's Track Attacks Yamaha. And that thing is dinged up pretty good on the carousel.
Yeah, the entrance to that turn is bumpy. Let's see what happened. Here you can see he's chasing away, and he's just in a little hot. Wow, clear front end tuck there. And you know what the shame is? I was looking at this bike earlier and commented that it's one of the, if not the prettiest bikes in the paddock. And unfortunately, when they tumble like that, it's not going to be so good.
Yeah, we'll see if he can piece the bike back together for Sunday's race number 2. But he is out of this race with 2 laps remaining, and again, you see the sideways slide backing it in of the 71 Torin Collins.
But think of Collins, right? He's been racing in the States. It hasn't been going great. He came back from Europe last year, had a good result in the States at the end of the season on a Suzuki, but now he's chasing Ben Young, who's clearly the guy in our CSBK series. First time on the Bridgestone spec tires, so lots going on, but you've got to admire him because he is hungry and he is not giving up.
Ben Young coming up on some back markers. That looks like the Jack Carter Power Sports BMW of Bronte Verbeek, who was actually involved in the red flag incident at the opening of this race. And it's also the Riverside Honda there, number 6 of John Booley. So we'll see if Young can clear this and how much Collins is able to gain.
And Bully had been running up with Gable, so we're well into the top 10. You can see Bully is listed there as 10th, so we have had an incredible pace here because the people they're lapping are not slow and they are battling for position.
It is consistent 118s throughout. Is a little bit of slowing down there with Young trying to get past as now Collins looks to the outside potentially of Verbeek. He'll follow in behind and maybe takes a shot here going down into turn number 5 as Young and Collins continue to dance down the inside.
You knew Collins was going to go up the inside. That's a given in terms of how he rides the bike. Got to remind you, Young had all kinds of trouble in traffic at Grand Bend, so he's got to be careful. And there we go by Bully. So now the first 2 bikes have lapped up to 9th position.
Back half of the final lap here in race number 1 at RAD Torque in the GP Bikes Pro Superbike feature class. Ben Young out in first. Collins right on his heels though, as closing up that gap once more. Is there a spot for an overtake here, Colin?
Yeah, there is, and they're in the same shot now. They are close enough that the slightest hesitation by Young, and look at that. Wow, did Collins ever catch up? He almost got into the back of Young's bike there. Young's had that experience before.
Young having to push the pace right to the very end of the checkered flag. Collins takes a different line here. Through the chicane, they head towards the front straight, and it is Ben Young taking the victory. But what an effort from Torin Collins to close the gap.
Yeah, that was about as exciting and dramatic as the last lap. Obviously, the traffic made a big difference. Ben being careful. It was smart for him to do so because at Grand Bend, the traffic didn't break his way over the course of 2 races. Here they are celebrating. First time these 2 guys have ever been on the track together.
And it is Alex Dumas coming home in 3rd as well as he closes up. Young's had enough of that little bus stop, decides to go straight through Jordan Zoke, bringing it home in 4th.
Let's have a look at our results. We're confirming Dumas in 3rd in his debut on the Ducati. Strong 4th from Zoke. Garant can't be happy with 5th after podiums and a win at our last round. McDonald strong in 6th at his home track. De Gama Blanchette up to the top 10 on a Kawasaki 600. Pretty much the only middleweight bike that bothered to start this event.
Let's hear from our winner, Ben Young, who's with Sarah Said.
All right, Ben, congratulations starting off round 3 here in Edmonton with a win. How does it feel to have that number 1 spot?
Yeah, it feels good. You know, we had a bit of a difficult round at Grand Bend. You know, just a bit of jet lag and travel and stuff, and you know, missing the Thursday practice, you know, really took our toll. But being able to come to Edmonton to RAD Torque Raceway for the first time was great. You know, we got the Van Dolders home team BMW M1000RR working great, and it's you know, a gorgeous day out here. It's thanks to everybody, my whole team, for getting the bike dialed in, and all the volunteers out there for working those corners for us. And yeah, thankfully a good clean race and get the win.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
3rd winner in 5 races. We look at the points. Connor Campbell still up in 6th, even though he had transmission issues. Some of the riders not competing, including Trevor Daly. Look at that. Torin Collins all the way up to 10th in his debut in the championship.
On that final lap, Torin Collins was almost a full second faster than Ben Young, but not able to close it down and take top spot. It's Young to the top step. Collins in 2nd. Alex Dumas 3rd in his return. But the Canada Cup back-to-back reigning champion Ben Young takes race 1 at RAD Torque.